Look what they did to us. They do everything they can to separate us from nature, to take us out of nature, right? They stick us in these jobs, in these societies. We have no connection to the food that we eat. We have no connection to the environment, the weather, you know? We're completely controlled and completely domesticated. They gave us a religion that demonizes nature. It demonizes all the pagan practices of these cultures that existed for thousands of years. They turned nature into something to be avoided and overcome. And in reality, they probably just took us out of nature just because that's the ultimate way to control us, remove us from who we are, take away our intuition and our instincts, and then provide us a completely false culture to remove us from anything nature and anything divine. It's a sickness.
Yeah, it's also, man, Z, it's also part of the like we were talking about earlier, it's part of the war on the divine feminine. Um when you're talking about the earth.
Well, they have hid the divine feminine throughout all recorded history, at least that we can tell from what we can go by, if we're to trust it at all. The divine feminine nature was hidden. You can go back to the Egyptians with Isis. You can look at the archetype Semiramis. You could even look at the archetype Columbia that's expressed occultly. See, the occults, and this is going back to what Bobby Knight was saying, these occult secret societies and mystical religions, mystical schools, they knew all about the feminine archetype and the power of the feminine divine, and they hid it from us. So you could, again, just look into their depictions of all their occult symbolism. You can even go back, if you're to trust any of the Gnostic writings for what they're worth, and they talk about the Mother Sophia on the same level as the Father. See, the Bible that we are presented with, or the New Testament that we're presented with, we're only ever presented with a Father. But if you look at some of the writings from those times that were excluded from the canonical Gospels, you find that they had the divine feminine on equal par with the divine masculine. There was no difference. They saw those as both co-creators in this world. You can even go back to all the ancient the Vedic and Hindu cultures. You can go far back to the Sumerians. Again, if we're to trust any of this history. But what did they do in these times? They presented us with a religion where the divine feminine was completely removed or relegated to some type of subservient level. A lot of the stories in the Gnostics talk about the Holy Spirit that's represented is actually a feminine spirit. So when you talk about the Trinity, you have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Well, that doesn't make sense. But what does make sense? The Father, the Son, and the Mother. That's a Trinity that makes sense.
Exactly.
Like he said, and I think Bobby used the word, a dualistic world, a world of duality. And that's the world that we're in. When you look at electromagnetism, and Bobby, me and you was talking about this last time we were on a panel together.
Yes, sir.
Electromagnetism is based off dielectrics. You have to have two opposite polar forces that build charges and they discharge and create a charge. That charge is then propagated magnetically through a series of different electrical and magnetic pulses. So we call it electromagnetism, but it all starts with a charge that is just like a battery. This is a dualistic world, and it's infinitely fractal in its duality. Everything we look at has a duality, all of it.
Facts.
Okay,
bro. Hey, so is it the positive and the negative, man, woman, however you want to put it, that when they come together, is that spark? Is that what you?
Life.
Oh my
That's
mother,
life.
That's life. That's energy created, bro.
Electromagnetism is all there is that we can.
When you bring
Divine
the two
spark.
together, when you bring the two together, that's the motherfucking spark of life. God
Yeah,
damn
it's
it.
the
Divine
polar
spark.
opposites. You have to. You could
Hey,
even
that's
look
real
at.
shit, bro. Keep going. That's real shit.
You could even look at the heavens. Look at the balance between the sun and the moon. You can think of the sun as a more positive charge and the moon as the more negative. They're both necessary. One's not good and one's not bad. It just is. It just
Thank
is. This is
you.
a dualistic world. It
Man,
just
Thank
is.
you. That's why you supposed to be the balancing point. You're not supposed to be too acidic and you're not supposed to be too alkaline. You're supposed to be the
Yup.
balancing point that's that, like you said, you're supposed to be right in the middle of that dielectric inertia plane to where you
Yep.
operate in the energy.
Yes.
Absolutely.
right.
Absolutely.
You can
Y'all
look at
right.
this.
We cooking
this
today.
plane- Yeah, this plain Earth that we exist in. To me, I would agree with you, Bobby, that it's most likely the inertial plane of some dielectric
Torus
toroidal vortex field. Now,
hmm
you can look, some of us may know this, at our heart. Our heart sends out that same inertial plane, the inertial plane of our aura, of our essence, which is, I believe, is also a toroidal vortex. The inertial plane runs right through our heart. Heart and earth are anagrams. You just take the letters of heart and you mix them up, you get earth. Our heart and the inertial plane that runs through our toroidal magnetic field is in no way different than this whole reality that we exist in. It's all the same. As above, so below. As without, within. There is no difference. Let me ask you something, Christos. You just said there's 7 chakras, right? How many heavens are?
There's more. Like you could say there's more. I know that, but
there's
just for
7 that we know.
simplicity's sake.
There's 7 that we know of commonly. How many heavens are there? There's 7 heavens too.
7 above and 7 below.
Yeah.
Although below is not heavens, but yeah, I know what you're getting at with that.
See what I'm saying, dog?
Right.
And the heart chakra is what color, dog?
Green, just like the earth that we are in, and there's the blue
Thank
sky
you.
above, which is the throat, and then if we go along with quote unquote what they say, which is questionable, like what the core of this plane or what's deep down below, just the idea that if there is like red, orange, and yellow, like some type of molten, like fiery, like maybe more hellish planes, like without the religious context of that, but like the chakras definitely align with Middle Earth and like all these different cultures, the Tree of Life, Yggdrasil or however you say it, where we're in Middle Earth, just like in all the fantasy movies. And then down below are the lower planes of existence and higher planes, which are our chakras, which are also like within the exterior realm that we're in. There's those realms that are actual places, just like there are actual places within our aura and our chakras. It
I said
gets
this.
deep, man.
I said this on the last stream, but I'll just say it again real quick for anybody who's new. And Bobby Knight knows exactly what I'm talking about because he was mentioning this about infrared and things like that. I'll make this quick. Our chakra system that goes up from red, orange, yellow to green to blue to indigo to violet is the exact sequence that matches the perceivable visual light spectrum of the visual light band of the electromagnetic spectrum. It starts with red. That's why you go from infrared to red is where you could start seeing, all the way up to violet, and beyond that's ultraviolet. The chakra system that was depicted by the ancients, the Vedics, the Hindus, they knew it, they depicted it, matched the exact same color spectrum of the visual light frequencies. Our bodies have no separation with this world. This whole world may literally just be our body, and then we're projecting out an illusion that we perceive as reality. Our bodies are electromagnetic. Our bodies are electric. You can read the electrical energy from our bodies. Just look at EKG, ECG, electrocardiogram. It's literally putting amplitudes, okay, and electrodes on that read very small electrical energy coming from the heart. In that case, it's read in microvolts, but it's still electrical energy. If you look at an EEG, when they read your brain waves, that's called an electroencephalogram. When they do that, you can look at the literal electromagnetic energy of your brain, of your body.
This
It's
is fact.
testable. It's provable. You can see it. It ain't theory. It ain't like some bullshit.
And
It's
Warrior,
demonstrable.
what do
What's
they
up,
use if your heart stop?
Boom. Exactly.
Electricity.
Electric.
They electrocute you.
Exactly. Yup. That's exactly right. We're electrical beings. And they hid this from us because they hid the electromagnetic world. Okay? They lie because in reality, electromagnetism is the only force that can be demonstrated, measured, and tested. None of the other proposed forces, gravity, weak nuclear force, or strong nuclear force, can be tested. They're just theory. The only demonstrable force, in this reality at least, is electromagnetism. Our bodies are electromagnetic. I believe they hid this information from us to obscure us or to obscure from us our connection, our intricate connection with this whole world. Why else would they lie? Think about
That's right. They turned us into fire people. That's where you get all this burning calories and thermodynamics and all this bullshit. You know what I'm saying? We electrical energy converters. You know what I'm saying? You're not burning calories. You're not, nothing thermodynamic is going on inside of your body. What's going on is electromagnetic, like my brother Warrior said, electromagnetic impulses happen inside your auric field, your torus field. That we all as an individual represent the culmination of this system of God or whatever that is. You know what I'm saying? So each one of us is like the stars in the heaven. We, you know what I'm saying? Our light, our torus field energy is what gives this plane of existence its reality. Because we're all connected. That's why certain things, without being said, we could just innately feel from each other. Because it's waveforms. It ain't got nothing to do with you know what I'm saying, how they try to separate us like from nature. We dealing with waveforms and energy that can be processed on a different frequency scale. And that's when we get to talking about the spirit, breath, you know what I'm saying, the you that's inside of this, you know what I'm saying, flesh monster. You know what I mean? Because as we all talk, I like an experiment that I used to do a lot was, man, I used to stare in the mirror at myself, man. And I'd stand there for like 10, 15 minutes. And after a while, I wouldn't even begin to recognize myself. It's like the person inside of me would start being like, what the fuck is this? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is this? Yeah. What is this thing I'm inside of? Like, you know what I mean? Have you ever just stopped and stared at yourself and then just start to feel that disconnect from like your inner light being to, you know what I'm saying, this fleshly thing that you is? Not saying that it's a bad thing that we in this flesh, but just saying it's a clear.
Bobby, I ain't so sure we're supposed to be here, dog. I
don't think we were supposed to stay here. No. I think the fallacy was we created this GTA simulation to have, you know what I'm saying, some type of experience in. And at some point in time, we forgot that we was inside GTA.
Hey, you know what I mean? Hey, you know what? I have those moments too, staring in the mirror. And sometimes when it's like I feel like my energy is not totally synced to my body. You know what I mean? Like there's some disconnect going on. Yeah. I've been listening, just been running around, but I'm gonna keep it flowing, guys. Go ahead. You guys
man. Because we're the avatar. You know what I'm saying? It's different, you know what I'm saying? It's different levels of expression. You know what I'm saying? We're the character inside the GTA character. So it's like the soul that's inside of us may very well be, you know what I'm saying, a separate part of what's moving us. Like you said, we might not even supposed to been in this flesh. Because as I control my GTA character, I'm outside the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? He don't have no perception of me.
I agree with that. Man, bro, you're hitting it. We talked about this last panel where um, about your higher self. Now, we had this conception that we came from somewhere and that we're existing within these bodies. And then when we die, we leave these bodies and go somewhere else. But I got another conception is that we're just existing across this whole fractal reality in multiple dimensions. And we're just perceiving this experience as physical in this dimension, probably a lower one. Now, my point is, that means when we die, we don't go anywhere. We just become aware of who we actually are.
That's what I feel. I feel awareness is the ultimate key. I don't think death is, you know what I'm saying? Death is like that waking up, that pulling back the veil. I got you there.
Yeah.
That's
You know, we might
why they
not-
want death to be the ultimate fear.
To make death the ultimate fear, yeah.
I do
You
get
know?
the vibe of like I don't belong here type of thing too, and kind of this trap, like this shit ain't right type of thing. As much as we're just trying to make the best of it, you know. And then you got a family to take care of too. You know, you got to be in a certain mind state. But step outside of that for a little bit, it's like, you know, I do get that trappish kind of this isn't right type of thing, you know.
It's quite possible that the fall of man that is depicted in Genesis may indeed be the fall of us into these fleshly bodies. And that begs a question. We were told of the fallen ones that rebelled against the creator of spirit and were cast down here. This might be hard for people to take, but maybe that's us. Maybe that's us. And that's hard. But it's possible.
I feel that, bro.
I feel it.
Right? Because when you look at how the Adam and Eve story is encoded, when you look and you read it beyond just what the words are, it may give you an indication of what it's trying to tell you. And getting back to what we were saying about the divine feminine, the original creation stories that you can still find in the Jewish cultures and a lot of their texts and scriptures, all right, that you see more in their Talmudic traditions that were established later in Babylon, you find stories of the original female creation was named Lilith. And Lilith was not created from the man. Lilith was not created from the rib as Eve was. Lilith was created along with Adam as an autonomous individual. For whatever reason in their creation stories, Lilith was cast out and then they pulled woman from man. But my point is, it goes to show that there may be that divine feminine that existed from the beginning. And whatever they did, who knows? Whether the original Adam was some kind of light being, maybe the original Adam was genderless, right? The original Adam who existed on a higher dimension had no need for a male and a feminine. And it was only after the fall into this body that we were split into our genders. That sucks that Bobby dropped out. Fuck.
Yeah, this is deep. I'm speechless.
I'm glad you
Good
came
stuff.
in, Steve. I'm glad
I've been listening. Like I said, sometimes I can't shut up, and sometimes I just like to listen. Man, this is deep stuff, man.
They don't want us to notice stuff. I got a theory too. Is that
I agree.
This knowledge that these people in this room are aware of, I think they had to let it out. I really do. I think I might have been talking about this earlier here. I don't even know. But my conception is that in order to enslave the entire world using their magic, using their technology, using their money, my theory and conception is in order to do that, they had to pay a karmic price because natural law cannot be violated. It's my contention that in order to enslave the entire world, they had to let some of the captives free. They couldn't have enslaved all of us because natural law must be followed at all costs and balance must be maintained. So, in order to enslave this entire world with their dark magic, we're the other side of that coin. We're the price they had to pay for their control and power. We're the captives that were left free. And that's why I talk. And that's why I'm not going to stop talking. That's why nobody's going to get me to stop talking. I don't fucking care. Until I have one breath left in me, I'm going to keep talking.
Keep talking.
Because
man. Keep talking, brother.
Because we have the information. And now we're accountable. If you are ignorant on a subject, you are not accountable to that subject. You're not accountable for how you behave and how you react in relation to that subject. But once you know, you're accountable. What other choice do we have?
You were saying 20-year cycles, but I think you meant 19-year cycles, or the 20-year cycles pertaining to the planetary, because I know it's 19-year lunar cycles. That's why we had CV19, 19 years after 9/11. With
we're talking about the Jupiter Saturn conjunction.
Okay, so is that?
I said 19 with what I said earlier. I was talking about 19-year cycles. Yeah.
Yeah, 19-year cycle, lunar cycles. Right. Of course, or the moon. But is the 20-year cycle different than that? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. This one has to do with the
conjunction, right? The triple planetary conjunction.
It's the conjunction of it's the Saturn Jupiter conjunction that cyclical, apparently. When you think about it, it's like this. It's this back and forth between the Saturn archetype and the Jupiter archetype. Played out in the heavens. When you say the lunar cycle, the lunar cycle is it resets. It was basically the Chaldean culture discovered. It's called the Zero cycle, which is so funny because it shows that the lunar cycle and eclipses have been known for thousands and thousands of years, and people think that it was just only recently. They think that the heliocentric model in some way provided an idea of the lunar cycles, and nothing could be further from the truth. They actually use the same cycles of this older Chaldean culture called the Zero cycle for the lunar cycles. This is so funny how they fucking co-opt everything.
Right. It's like a lie within a lie kind of a thing. It's like a double agent, double or triple agent type of tactics. Like,
I'll give you an example. It's kind of almost like you were saying with the celebrities with the back and forth. They just have to present a story that keeps you engaged. So, for instance, if somebody's talking about whether or not we went to the moon or we didn't go to the moon, they're both missing the most fundamental concept that there is. The moon is not a place you can go to. You see what I'm saying, dog? You get everybody fighting about did we go or didn't we go, it's still keeping them on the same model that it's actually possible to go there. And you can take that analogy and you can relate it to so many different things. So as long as they're keeping you in this, this sort of back and forth conception, it keeps you away from looking at what's true. So it doesn't matter what side you choose. So they don't care if you choose Republican or Democrat as long as you participate in their politics. They don't care if you choose pro-life or pro-choice as long as you're participating in the great divide that they're trying to perpetrate. Understand? They don't care which job you have. They don't care which job you have as long as you participate in their bullshit fake fiat currency. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. They just want to keep you participated, keep your attention on their fake construct system. That's all that matters. They just want to keep you engaged in their false system and their false reality. So it really is all just a puppet show. Unfortunately, that's the way it is, man. It's an illusion that they're creating for us to keep us distracted, and it really is an effective tactic if you look at it. You know, keep them distracted with wars. Look at all these wars. When we examine all the major world wars, it's quite obvious that they were orchestrated and engineered and funded, both sides, by the same entities, because the goal was not who wins the war. The goal was the war itself. Create the war, keep them divided, keep them fighting, you know. It's just a trick as old as time. It's not even a very complex trick. It's very simple, you know. Most people just can't understand the magnitude of the trick. They can't grasp how large this deception is because it boggles the mind. We have no way to conceive of it. You know, we have no way to conceive of the deception because we've been engineered into a mindset that would never be able to comprehend that. Yo, let me just talk to anybody who's out there, you know, in the chat, and just remind you of your divinity, of your sovereignty and your godliness, because this world's going to do everything it can to take that away from you. And sometimes it's nice just to hear a voice to tell you that you have that. Your soul is yours. They cannot take that from you. You can only give it away. Your soul is yours. Now you have to make a choice what you want to do with that soul. You have to make a choice. And you have to decide if the pleasures of this world are worth sacrificing your soul. These are the choices we all have to make. Doesn't matter what I think. Doesn't matter what I know. That's just a fact. Your soul is yours. It's yours to do with what you want. You want to give it away? You want to sell it? That's your choice. It's yours. They can't take your soul, people. They can't take it. You have to give it away to them. I think the blood magic goes to the center of the heart of everything. If you get back to the depictions we said of these ancient gods, even the God depicted in the Old Testament, four-letter God, whatever you want to call them, there seems to be a lot of association with blood magic. If you look at most of modern culture and the influences of it, you can go back to secret societies such as the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn and the OTO. You can look at this Theosophical Society, and then you'll really start to see some of the underpinnings of these occult systems. You can go back to the ancient Babylonians and their worship of Baal, the story of Baal sacrifice. You can go further. You can go further. You can go further back to the conception of the four-letter Yahweh God and Abraham, who was the father of the Israelite people. It was his seed that was to spring the Israelites. And the story of blood sacrifice and how God had called him to sacrifice his firstborn son, but they stopped at the last minute. You can look at all these depictions of blood sacrifice, and it's my contention that these ancient bloodline families, how many ever there are, working through their secret societies and mystery schools, simply carried the knowledge of this blood magic through time and kept it from us, and they use it to control us, is what I think. All right, now, there's power in the blood. We know that. There's a power in the blood magic. We can see evidence of their blood magic all over if you really look. I think what they're doing is, I'll just say it. The form of particular magic that they use is called Enochian magic. All right, it's a particular type of fallen angel magic. Is most likely what they're doing is using a particular type of this Enochian dark magic to summon these dark angels. It's my contention that most, if not all, the technology and the technological advances that we see were in some way associated with this blood magic. If you look at JPL, which is called the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which is the precursor to NASA, what a joke that is. Anyway, JPL was this organization that developed all this high-level technology, including rocket technology. All right. JPL was led by one Jack Parsons. JPL actually means Jack Parsons Laboratory, not Jet Propulsion. This is all mainstream history. Jack Parsons was intimately associated with two other characters who were at the very head of the OTO. One, Aleister Crowley, and one, L. Ron Hubbard, the leader of Scientology. You can look all this up if you want. Anyway, what's my point. My point is that we're talking about even Aleister Crowley. If you look at Aleister Crowley's influence on popular culture, he had a huge influence. You even look at all music and the Beatles. You can go down the line and see Aleister Crowley's influence on possible cultures and this culture. It's quite possible that his children, he had a lot of them because he was in blood sex magic, are in very powerful positions all across this earth. A lot of people think Barbara Bush, as funny as it may sound, is Aleister Crowley's actual daughter. Interestingly enough, they look exactly the fucking same. Anyway, my point is, when you look...
They sure do.
Yeah. So when you look at the technology that we have, and even more particularly, the individuals behind this technology, when you look at these individuals, and you look at their magical practices that they openly espoused, well, maybe you can see where some of the influence came for this technology. So it's just a possibility that this technology that we have was in some way, and always was, birthed from consorting with these dark entities. Okay? It's one conception of technology. So, Christos, when you brought up the blood magic, everything is central to the blood magic. Now, blood's not the only kind of magic. It's just one. See, for me, blood magic's a dirty type of magic. It's very powerful, but I think it has extreme consequences, and that's why I think they overplayed their hand, and that's why I think they're going to get it in the end. Because I think when they figured out how powerful this blood magic was, the die had been cast at that point. And that's why when it says in the New Testament that they already lost, I believe that. Because I think they overplayed their hand. I think they violated natural law. And I think if you violate natural law, you can't escape the consequences of that. Yeah, Steve, I think consent underpins it all, because I don't think, like I said, they have to follow natural law. I really believe that.
Right.
So they can't take that from you. You have to give it to them.
They get you to consent to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't give. It's like I was saying before. They can't take your soul. You got to give it up.
Exactly.
You know, these are natural principles these are, the Hindus, whatever, call karma and stuff. This is just natural law, which is really the only law, like I was saying. There's no other law but natural law, which is really just the law of God, if you really want to look at it. Any other legal conception is just a fabrication.
You're born knowing those laws.
You're born knowing it, exactly.
Crazy. You said fabricated. I'm just thinking in my head, fabricated, and you like verbalized my thought. That's strange.
No one has to tell you the laws.
Bro.
You know them naturally from birth. I mean,
yeah, they teach us that
they construct all these laws to put in front of you to control you and get your consent, and to get you to play in their game and in their twisted game and their system.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There's no law other than God's law or universal law. It's just
right.
Their legal system is a complete and utter fraud. If you look at the foundations of the legal system,
it causes all the problems.
Well, I think it was put in place to protect these sick fuckers, if you want to know the truth.
Well, yeah, and to protect them. Yeah, I can agree with that.
I think you build a whole government. The idea of government has no legitimacy to me. And, you know, see, it has no legitimacy, you know.
But when
the whole concept,
go ahead.
The whole concept of consent, I'll put this out. I talked about this with Stavely before. I'll talk about it here. I'm sure there's a lot of people who didn't hear it. Anyway, when you look at the foundations of this government, we're told that this government was based on the foundational principles of the Declaration of Independence. 1776, Declaration of Independence was signed and written by the same exact members who originated through Adam Weishaupt, the Bavarian Illuminati, that very same year in 1776.
And what did he create?
The Bavarian Illuminati. The Bavarian, the original.
201, right? Or no, I'm sorry. Order of Illuminati. I think the original name of the Illuminati was the Order of Illuminati, correct? That was the Bavarian Illuminati, but that was the title they went by.
That makes sense. I believe that would make sense. So my point is,
Order of Illuminati equals 201, like Jesuit Order equals 201. Or sorry, the Jesuit Order equals 201. So
201, yeah. So
the Pope was in Suite 201. It's called the Domus Sancti Martyr, which equals 201. His name, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, equals 201. But anyway, I digress. Go ahead.
Event 201, yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
stuff. It's real.
Yeah, they encode all those numbers, man. It runs
two towers became 0, became 1. Yeah. The event with the 20 and the 1. Yeah.
Yeah. So my point about the magic was, we're taught that this whole government, this government of for the people, of the people, by the people, was underpinned by this Declaration of Independence. Well, the first thing I pointed out was who wrote it and who signed it. The same people who were behind probably the largest organization of control that we can, that we at least know of. But my point about the magic is when you look at the words and how consent is involved, it specifically says that the legitimacy of the government is based on the consent of the governed. Okay? Here's my point. If you're going to put a dark spell over entire people, what better way to do it than present it in the founding document and have everybody sign it and buy into it and base your whole governmental structure around it, all right? Now you've consented to a government. You've consented to a mind control. My point about the magic, and then I'll wrap the magic up, is that they have us consenting to their government, all right? But I would contend that no governments are actually legitimate, that the actual legitimate ruling force, in this world at least, is power, and power only, okay? The idea of a government based on the consent of the governed, I think, has no legitimacy whatsoever, because it has no legitimacy in natural law. You don't tend to choose your leaders, okay? It doesn't seem to be a part of humanity. So in the ultimate twist that this world has ever seen, we're presented with a nation where we're told we had freedoms and rights, which is funny because if my rights come from God, like it says in the Declaration of Independence, then why do I need an organization to protect those rights? Aren't they given to me from God? Why do I need them? That's besides the point. The point I'm trying to make is, in the ultimate irony, they created a nation where they told us we had ultimate rights and freedoms, and then in the end, used that very nation to institute tyranny across the whole world.